Hello students, how are you all? Hope you people are doing well. Today I am going to start with the study note number 20. I am going to do a video on study note number 20. That is the last study note of section C. As you all are aware that in your syllabus there are 3 sections. So section A where basics are given. Section B we have computation of income, and the major that is 70% weightage is there for your section B, and then the last one is section C. Okay, now the thing is, in this particular study note students, this particular study note number 20 will be entirely theory. Okay, so section C is in that we can find theory mostly, that the weightage is 20%. Okay, some part is practical, but this particular study note is entirely theory. But why some students they say like we want to concentrate on practicals and all. No, it's not like that. In your practical question, suppose the question number 2 is there that A will be practical and B will be theory, then what you all will do? So if you know A, you should be able to do B also. So that's why I will request everyone here, don't put this for option, please do it nicely. Okay, so this particular section under section C, study note number 20 is for income computation and disclosure standards, like how in accounting we have accounting standards. Similarly in income tax also we have some income tax related standards. So the name given is income computation and disclosure. The name is income computation. From this only we can make out this is about how to compute the income and what is to be disclosed. So about that the standards are there. In short form we will call it as ICDS. Okay, let's start with the first point here, applicable. Now this particular ICDS are applicable to whom? Okay, so this question was asked in June 2017, as this particular question was asked in June 2017 as features of ICDS. So if feature comes, or to whom the ICDS apply, that was asked in December 2017, you are going to write the same answer. Okay, let's start now. For computation of income chargeable under the head PGBP and IFOS. Okay, so these ICDS are applicable for computation of income which is chargeable under the head PGBP and IFOS. Means profits and gains from business and profession and income from other sources. It means it is not applicable to other 3 heads, that is salaries, then capital gain, and one more, that is house property. Okay, so other than that that is PGBP and IFOS को ही सिर्फ ही applicable है. Okay, and this ICDS is not there for maintenance of books of account. It is not going to tell you how to maintain books of account. It is going to tell you how to compute the income. Okay, now we will see the next point. It is applicable to all taxpayers except individual and HUF who are not covered under tax audit under section 44AB. Okay, now suppose you have PGBP and you are individual but you are not covered by tax audit, then you are not required to follow ICDS. Okay, if you are individual and HUF, you have PGBP or IFOS and you are covered under tax audit under section 44AB, we are going to see this section later. That time students, you have to follow the ICDS. Okay, now after that what I have written means it is applicable to company, firm, AOP, BOI, then local authority, artificial juridical person, irrespective of the tax audit. Okay, if you are company and whether you are liable for tax, eligible for tax audit or not, you have to follow this ICDS. Okay, but if you are individual and HUF, then you have to see whether a tax audit is applicable or not. If tax audit is compulsory, then only you have to follow ICDS. Okay, now suppose there is a company and they have only PGBP type of income, then no need to follow. They have only capital gain type of income, then no need to follow. It is required to be followed in case of PGBP and IFOS only. Applicable only to taxpayers following mercantile system of accounting. If you are suppose individual, HUF, you have PGBP, you are eligible for tax audit, means you are doing your tax audit, but you are not following mercantile system of accounting, no need to follow ICDS. Okay, if you are following mercantile system of accounting, that is accrual system of accounting, then only you have to follow the ICDS. Okay, applicable to PGBP, presumptive income too. Now under PGBP we have a concept of presumptive income. We are going to see that later. So just in presumptive income what happens, no need to maintain books of account. Whatever your turnover is there, uska kuch 8% you have to declare as your net profit. So no need to take any deduction, no need to show any records. Okay, so if that is there, then what? Yes, so that time also you have to follow ICDS. It is applicable to all companies irrespective of accounting standard adopted by them. So you are adopting accounting standards or you are adopting Ind AS. Okay, that doesn't make any difference. If you are company, you have to follow ICDS. ICDS applicable for total income computation under AMT but not MAT. Okay, so for MAT calculation ICDS is not applicable, but for AMT calculation, computation of income, ICDS is applicable. Okay, now if there is a conflict between ICDS and income tax will prevail. So suppose something is there on that, there is a contradictory sentence for, on a particular matter which is there in ICDS and income tax, so it is not matching, there is a contradiction between ICDS and income tax provisions, then assessees have to follow what? Assessees have to follow what is said in income tax provisions. Okay, then the next is conflict between ICDS and income tax rules. So if there is a conflict between ICDS and income tax rules, there also income tax rules will prevail. Okay, then non-compliance of ICDS will lead to the judgment assessment. Okay, best judgment assessment ho jayega. Means suppose if your company, if you have PGBP, you are following mercantile system, but still you are not following ICDS, you are not doing compliance of ICDS, then there are chances that there will be a best judgment assessment of your company. Okay, so that's why you have to follow ICDS properly. Now how many ICDS are there? There are total 10 ICDS. So in exam MCQ can also come for 1 mark or 2 mark. Like they will say dash is for related to accounting policies, or dash ICDS is related to valuation of inventory. So you have to remember the number, or they will give you number like ICDS 3 is for dash, ICDS 4 is for dash, like that. So you have to remember number as well as it is for what, that also you have to remember. Okay, now in exam for short notes, maybe for 4 marks or 5 marks, a question can come on one ICDS, like in December 2018 as well as in June 2018 for 5 marks. Short note was come in exam, that is ICDS 1 accounting policies. Okay, so the first ICDS is accounting policy, second is valuation of inventories, third is construction contracts, fourth is revenue recognition, fifth is tangible fixed asset, sixth is effects of change in foreign exchange rates, then seventh is government grants, eighth is securities, 9th is borrowing cost, and 10th is provisions, contingent liabilities and assets. So these are the 10 ICDS that you have to prepare. Okay, now we will see this one by one. Okay, the first one is ICDS 1 accounting policies. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Yeah, accounting policies. Accounting policies adopted to represent true and fair view of the state of affairs of the companies. This we all know because we have already seen accounting policies in your maybe in 11th or 12th standard syllabus. Okay, so why we have to follow accounting policies? Because we want to show the true and fair view of the state of affairs of our business. Transactions and events shall govern by their substance and not merely legal form. One more thing is given here in accounting policy ICDS 1, transactions and events shall govern by their substance and not merely legal form. Means suppose you have something you have taken on lease, you are not the owner, still you can claim the depreciation. You are not the owner, so it is not only legal form is not important, then how the particular transaction is, what is the importance, what is the substance of the transaction, that is also seen here. Same thing is there in your accounting standard as well. Okay, Expected losses or mark to market losses shall not be recognized unless accordance with any other ICDS. So suppose you are expecting some losses, or mark to market losses is something which is related to derivatives, futures. There we record daily, we record the mark to market losses. Okay, so it is not recognized, so we cannot record this as per ICDS 1. ICDS 1 is telling that you cannot record expected losses or mark to market losses for computation of your income to pay tax, okay, unless it is accordance with any other ICDS. If other ICDS is allowing, then only you can record, otherwise you cannot record. Next is fundamental accounting assumptions must be followed. So what else it is telling? This accounting income ICDS 1 is telling us, income computation and disclosure standard is telling that you have to follow fundamental accounting assumptions. Now what are the fundamental accounting assumptions? We already know the concepts and conventions, student, which is there in FA. Okay, that must be followed. Change in accounting policy shall not be changed without reasonable cause. If any cause is there to change the accounting policy that you are following for so many years, if any cause is there, if any reason is there, that reason is very reasonable, then only you can change the accounting policy that you are following, otherwise you cannot change. Okay, disclosure of accounting policies. All significant accounting policies adopted shall be disclosed. Any change having material effect shall be disclosed. If you are following a particular accounting policy and if you have changed the same, okay, say the method of depreciation or any other accounting policy that you are following, and if you have changed it and it has got a big impact on your income, then you have to disclose in your statements saying that this one you were following and this is change and what is the material impact. Is that clear? So this can come for 5 marks and it is already asked for 2 times in the exam. So what you have to write here, accounting policies, point A, point B, fundamental accounting assumptions. You can make a list if you want here to increase the length of your answer. Change in accounting policies, it shall not be changed without reasonable cause. So this reasonable cause is very important here. Then disclosure of accounting policy, you have to disclose which accounting policy you are following, and if any change in accounting policies that you are following, you have changed the accounting policies, then you have to write the material impact, material effect. Also you have to disclose the material effect also of the same. Okay, now let's start with the second ICDS, that is, just a minute, let's start with the second ICDS, that is valuation of inventories. So the first point we will see is scope. This standard applies to valuation of inventories except the following. What is that? WIP under construction contract, WIP under other standard, okay, and shares, debentures or other financial instruments held as stock in trade, livestock or agriculture, forest products, mineral oils, gases, machinery, spares used in connection with a tangible fixed asset. There is expected to be their use is expected to be irregular. To these particular items, valuation of inventories will not be applicable. So in exam a question can come for 2 marks saying what are the or list the items to which valuation of inventory ICDS 2 is not applicable. Now students, how you will remember here is WIP under construction contract. Why it is excluded here? The reason is we have a different ICDS for this. We have a different ICDS for this. Okay, if any other standard is there for the WIP, then this standard will not be applicable. Like for securities we have a different standard, so that we have to follow. Okay, already it's given here. See, the shares, debentures or the financial instrument held as a stock in trade, to that also this ICDS will not be applicable. If you have a livestock, agriculture, forest products, if you have minerals, oil, gases and all, to that also you are not supposed to follow ICDS 2. If there is a machinery, spares which is used in connection with tangible asset and their use is expected to be irregular, so it is a part of that machinery only, students. This point will come later also, but I am explaining you now only that if there is machinery, कुछ machinery का part है, ठीक है, and it is connected with the tangible fixed asset, कुछ fixed asset से related है वो, और उसका जो use है वो irregular है, means it is not used regularly, It is a part and parcel of that machinery, so it will be considered, it is to be capitalized, students. Okay, it is to be capitalized. So to these 5 points, ICDS 2 will not be applicable. Now this ICDS 2 tells us how to measure the inventory. Okay, inventory valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. This we have seen in accounting standard also, that inventories are valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. What is net realizable value? Estimated selling price minus estimated cost. So what is the estimated selling price and what is the estimated cost? We have to deduct, and whatever will remain, that will be the net realizable value. Then the next one is cost of inventories. This ICDS also tells us about cost of inventories. Okay, now cost of inventories shall comprise of cost of production, cost of service, cost of conversion, other costs incurred in bringing the inventories to their present location or condition. So what will come in the inventories cost? Cost of production, okay fine. Cost of any service, cost of conversion means all other labor and those kind of costs. Other costs incurred in bringing the inventories to their present condition or location. It can be transport cost also. So whatever costs are incurred to bring the inventories at their present condition, those costs will be included in the cost of inventories. Okay. It also, cost of purchase will also include any taxes paid for purchasing the inventories like excise and all, or maybe GST, and it excludes trade discount and rebate. So if trade discount is there for buying the inventories, if you have incurred any if you have got any trade discount or rebate, then you have to deduct, because that is not a part, that cannot be part of cost, right? Because you have not paid for the same. So how you will include? So that's why you have to deduct. But it exclude, what it exclude? The cost of inventories will exclude. There are 5 points. The first one, interest and borrowing cost, abnormal wastages, storage costs, administrative cost, and selling costs. Okay. If storage costs and administrative costs, unless they are necessary, they are very necessary to bring the inventories at their present location, if they are necessary, then only they will be included in the cost, otherwise they will be excluded. So only the cost of production, cost of service, cost of conversion, other costs for bringing inventory to their present condition or location will be included. Taxes will be included, but trade discount and rebate will be excluded. And there are 5 points that are given here, which this particular question was asked in June 2019. The question was state the items which are not part of the cost of inventories as per ICDS 2. Okay, so interest and borrowing cost, abnormal wastages, storage cost, administrative cost, and selling cost, because these are not necessarily to be incurred to bring the inventories to their present condition or location. So that's why they should be excluded. Okay, so we saw first point A, scope. It is applicable to inventories except the following. Then we saw how to measure cost or NRV, whichever is lower, and then we saw cost of inventories. Now we will see D, cost formula. They have given us a cost formula also. So, or the method that can be followed: specific identification method, FIFO method, weighted average method. Okay, we know this FIFO method and weighted average method very well. You must have solved problems also in your first years. Okay, specific identification method means you have to just identify the cost incurred and all. And point E is change in method of valuation of inventory shall not be changed without reasonable cost. So if you want to change the method that you are following, if you are using FIFO method, from that you want to go back to weighted average method, or suppose you are using weighted average method, you want to go back to FIFO method, or you want to use specific identification method, that is called as change in method of valuation. So you cannot do this unless there is a reasonable cost to do that. Okay, if any cause is there, and that should be reasonable. Now what is called as reasonable, that is nowhere defined in the entire act. Then we will see disclosure requirement. The accounting policies or the methods adopted in measuring the inventories total carrying amount of the inventories and its classification, this should be disclosed. So which method you are using, whether FIFO, weighted average, or what is the carrying amount, what is the amount, closing amount of the inventories, and what is the classification of the inventory, that should be disclosed very clearly as per ICDS 2. So that was about ICDS 2. Scope, measurement of inventories, cost of inventories, then cost formula, or you can say method, change in the method, and disclosure. Okay. Next, ICDS, we will see ICDS 3, construction contracts. Okay. Scope applies in determination of income for a construction contract of a contractor. Construction of contract includes. Okay. So this particular ICDS 3 applies in determination of income from a construction contract. If you are a contractor, you have taken one contract and that is a construction contract. So how you are going to compute your income to show under income tax? Okay. So this particular ICDS is applicable to that kind of construction contract. Now construction of contract includes construction contract as well as destruction contract. Now you must be knowing this. Sometimes people get a construction contract and sometimes they get a destruction contract. When they want to demolish, when they want to do the demolition of the asset, they want to destruct a particular asset, they want to remove a particular old home, house or bungalow or some bridge or something like that, or a big asset is there, big machinery is there, they want to remove that particular asset, bungalow, flat, building, something from a particular location, then they give a destruction contract. Okay. So it includes construction as well as destruction contract. Now a second B point is contract revenue. It should be recognized when there is a reasonable certainty of its collection. So when you will show income from that contract, when you are certain, when there is a reasonable certainty कि ये collect होगा ही, that time you have to show. Okay. Then the second point, contract revenue comprise of initial amount. So the first point was when to recognize the contract revenue, and the second point is contract revenue में क्या क्या आएगा. So A is initial amount of revenue also includes retention money and payment of variations in the contract. Initially जो भी तुमको पैसा मिल गया है, that will come here. Plus if you have got any retention, so here retention money is what, the money which is not released by the contractee ने तुमको जिसका पैसा नहीं दिया है, so that will also be included here student. Initial amount of money including the retention money. And payment of variation in contract means what? Suppose you had a contract of building a bungalow, okay, जिसमें suppose 2 washrooms है, and suddenly your contract is telling you to build say 3 washrooms. So this is a variation in the contract. So for that you will receive extra payment. So that will also come here. Okay. Then contract cost. It comprises of costs that relate directly to the specific contract, costs that are attributable to the contract, such other costs that are charged to the customer, and the borrowing cost. So you will be matching two things, revenue and the contract cost, right? So contract revenue में तो हमने देख लिया क्या क्या आएगा, but what about the cost? Because from the revenue you will deduct the cost, that whatever will remain that will be the income from the construction contract जिस पे तुम टैक्स भरने वाले हो. So revenue के बारे में तो बता दिया हमको ICDS 3 ने. now cost के बारे में क्या बता रहा है, कौन कौन सी कॉस्ट तुम लोग लोगे, द कॉस्ट दैट रिलेट डायरेक्टली टू द स्पेसिफिक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. जिस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का इनकम तुम कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से रिलेटेड कॉस्ट ही तुमको लेनी है. ठीक है. जिस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के बारे में तुम बात कर रहे हो, द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दैट इज अंडर कंसिडरेशन, उससे रिलेटेड ही तुम यहाँ पे एट्रीब्यूटेबल जिसको तुम एलोकेट कर सकते हो कॉस्ट, दैट ओनली यू विल टेक. सच अदर कॉस्ट दैट आर चार्ज टू द कस्टमर, कोई एक्स्ट्रा चीज़ के लिए तुमने कस्टमर को चार्ज कर दिया है, दैट कॉस्ट विल ऑल्सो कम. Plus suppose you have taken loan and you are paying interest on that, so that is your borrowing cost. It can be anything, interest है, processing fees है, कोई भी borrowing cost है, that will be also included in the contract cost. Okay, so that was about the contract cost. Then point D talks about recognition of contract revenue and expense. How to recognize means how to record. Okay, ऐसे बोलना है कि okay fine ये income हो चुका है, ऐसे तुम कब कहोगे, how you will recognize. ICDS 3 recognize percentage of completion method for recognizing contract revenue and contract cost. विच कैन बी एट्रीब्यूटेड टू प्रपोर्शन ऑफ द वर्क सर्टिफाइड. कितना पोर्शन तुम्हारा कितना काम हुआ है एंड उसके भी आगे हाउ मच इज सर्टिफाइड. ना वॉट एवर यू आर बिल्डिंग, वॉट एवर यू आर कंस्ट्रक्टिंग, सो उसको एक सर्टिफिकेट मिलना है इंजीनियर से एंड दैट इज़ कॉल्ड एज वर्क सर्टिफाइड सर्टिफिकेट, वर्क कंप्लीटेड सर्टिफिकेट. ओके, सो वर्क कंप्लीटेड सर्टिफिकेट के प्रपोर्शन में यू हैव टू रिकॉग्नाइज द कॉस्ट. सपोज योर वर्क सर्टिफाइड इज से 50%, सो कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट भी उसके हिसाब से 50% यू कैन रिकॉग्नाइज एंड कंस्ट्रक्शन रेवेन्यू ऑल्सो 50% यू कैन रिकॉग्नाइज. ओके, समझो तुमने पूरा काम कर लिया है बट सर्टिफिकेट जो मिला है वो 80% वर्क कंप्लीशन का सर्टिफिकेट मिला है. सो हाउ मच यू विल शो इन योर बुक्स फॉर पेइंग द टैक्स, 80% ऑफ द रेवेन्यू एंड 80% ऑफ द कॉस्ट, दैट मच you will show. Okay, then disclosure, what you have to disclose here, तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज कितना परसेंट रिकॉग्नाइज किया है, कौन सी मेथड यूज़ करिए, कॉस्ट कितना है, एडवांसेस लिए हैं क्या, रिटेंशन मनी कितना है, ऑल दिस यू हैव टू शो इन द डिस्क्लोजर. इंपॉर्टेंट नोट है यहाँ पे, पेनल्टीज अराइजिंग फ्रॉम द डिले ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कंप्लीशन शैल नॉट बी रिड्यूस फ्रॉम contract revenue. So people will do like this only to reduce the revenue and to pay the less tax. So that's why this particular notice come and what it says कि अगर कोई पेनल्टी लगी है डिले होने के वजह से कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कंप्लीशन में, तो वो तुम्हारा प्रॉब्लम है. गवर्नमेंट क्या कह रही है, पेनल्टीज आर फॉर पेनल्टीज, तुम रेवेन्यू में से डिडक्ट करके टैक्स नहीं भर सकते हो. कल तुम झूठा भी पेनल्टी बता सकते हो वहाँ पे, राइट. सो दैट्स वाई वॉट एवर योर रेवेन्यू इज देयर ऑन दैट यू हैव टू पे द, फ्रॉम दैट यू हैव टू डिडक्ट द कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट एंड वॉट एवर रिमेन्स दैट विल बी द इनकम, उस पर टैक्स भरो. तो तुम डिडक्ट जो करोगे कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट, दैट टाइम यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू कंसिडर एनी पेनल्टी चार्ज बाय द कॉन्ट्रैक्टी. So you did not complete the contract on time, that is your problem. Because of that you are not going to pay less tax. Okay, you have to pay tax on the entire amount. So this was ICDS 3. Here we'll stop. In the next video I will cover next 3 or 4 ICDS. Okay, thank you.